Even men at the top of their game find themselves wanting more from life. Whether it's more meaning, unshakable confidence, a bigger impact, more money, deeper love, a hotter sex life, or a powerful legacy. Find out how good your life can be on this episode of Man Alive. Also, as I've supported men in their love and work lives for 15 years now, many men ask for the right words to say to be more successful, attractive, and desirable. But I found it's not so simple as giving scripts or lines because every man is different. So giving words or scripts would be like giving a tall, thin man a shorter, wider man's pants, or vice versa. The words have to make sense for you and your personality, and there's so much happening beneath the surface that people are responding to. If you're interested in how to become a better lover and leader in your own unique way, go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz, or you can text ALIVE to 44144. It only takes a couple minutes and you'll start to get an idea of how you can be both more respected and desired. After you fill it out, we can schedule a time to review your quiz and talk about your specific challenges and desires. So again, go to either shanajamescoaching.com/quiz or text ALIVE to 44144. That's ALIVE to 44144. Enjoy this episode of Man Alive. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Man Alive. I'm your host, Shana James, and I am feeling excited and also deeply moved to be here today to talk about the topic of fear and how to overcome fear, how to get in relationship with fear, because, fear is something that drives most of us and gets in the way, gets in the way of love, of success, of so many of the things that we want and need in our lives, and it's never gonna go away completely. And so we've got to figure out how to navigate it. So I'm excited to be here today with Brian Bajin, the founder of Fearless. Brian, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored and to be part of your podcast.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know Brian, I'll give a quick intro and then we'll dive in. So Brian helps students build deep, elite levels of confidence that allow them to achieve success and connect with people at degrees they never believed possible. He's passionate about guiding people in the pursuit of their dream life, and he does this by helping them get under the layers of social conditioning and often unconscious fear they picked up through their lives to find their most authentic, fearless selves. I love that you said, in your bio, that I just read that the layers, right? The often unconscious fears, because I was thinking about this morning, that there are some fears we're clearly aware of, right? Like, oh, I know I'm afraid of going up to talk to a stranger or something like that. But there are these layers and these more subtle fears that I think we don't even recognize are driving us.
Yeah, there's many layers. This is why I'm big on embodiment and something I call energetic embodiment, and sometimes I call it emotional embodiment. It's this idea that we have so much stored emotion and feeling in our body, and we run from it, and then we say, "Oh, I'm not feeling." I can't tell you the number of times I'll ask a client what they're feeling, and they'll say, "I'm not feeling anything."
Yeah, or I think I noticed.
I think. Yeah, and this astounds me because you can never really not be feeling anything.
Right.
So if you're feeling nothing, you're probably got some you're disidentified, or there's something you're not paying attention to.
Yeah.
Something apathetic, something you don't want to feel, so you're pushing it away.
Yeah.
And those layers are down inside of that. That's where your life is going to change. When you get down into those layers of things you don't want to feel.
Yeah.
And that you've been pushing away, and you start waking that back up, and it's going to feel a little crappy at first, but that's your self-love turning back on, and that pain and that grief and that sadness, that's your body waking back up.
It reminds me of that example where you close your fist and you squeeze it really tight for a while and it becomes numb. And as you start to open your hand, right, it hurts, but then, the more and more you open it, the more it relaxes, the more you can actually start to feel again. And I agree. And so there's something I love about you as a man talking about embodiment, because I think as a woman, men can look at me and be like, yeah, blah, blah. She's talking about the body. But so I just love that you're validating my perspective as well, which is, there's so much stored in our bodies, and it's such a gateway to having that kind of depth and pleasure and love and connection and so many of the things that we're looking for.
Well, for men, I mean, here's an analogy for men. Would you drive in a car that you completely ignored what was inside under the hood, you didn't
Ooh.
fix, you didn't look at, and you try to drive it down the freeway after 5 years of doing that, 10 years, 30 years of doing that's dangerous.
Uh-huh.
And you have
Uh-huh.
no relationship to the road. The tires are worn out, the oil's gone, the car's just going to stop working.
Oh my God, that's great.
You need to be in relationship to your vehicle, which is your body. Your body connects you to life, and that's how you communicate with people. Now
Yeah.
take it to another level. If you're not embodied and you can't fully feel your body and move through your body, how do you really enjoy sex and
I
make
know.
love and
Yes,
connect?
that's the most concrete example, right? It's the easiest place to see it.
Yeah, it's super true. I mean, a little sharing. I used to be super numb. Like when
Yeah.
I first started having sex, I couldn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I had so much sexual shame and so much
Yeah.
disassociation from my genitals that when I had sex, it was just numb.
Yeah.
And it and I had to do a lot of embodiment work to learn to enjoy sex
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and to create pleasure from it and to be able to relate and that's one of the best things I ever did for myself.
Yeah.
So important. Now I can really connect with the person I'm with and just sit with the person and be with the person and not just chase an orgasm to get stress relief,
Yes. I love that you said too that your bio talks about um, achieving success and connecting with people at degrees they never believed possible, because that's my experience as well, is that as we guide men back into their bodies and back into their capacity to then stay connected with someone else, even in the midst of fear, even in the midst of anxiety, even in the midst of not knowing where we're going to go, right, that unknown, that those experiences are beyond what most men even conceive of, right? The degree of pleasure that's possible, the degree of depth and meaning that's possible. So, yeah, it feels really, really powerful.
Yeah, and men actually do love it when I present it to them. I just have to present. I feel like for men, you got to present it from a different perspective than you would for women. It's the
Uh-huh.
same idea,
Yeah.
just a slightly different perspective, and then men get excited about it.
Yeah.
That's why we have a loyal following of men that really want to be more embodied, that want
Yes.
to, and that want to cut through all the bullshit and
Mm-hmm.
actually and learn to walk life, stop playing the victim, learn to
Yeah.
walk into life head on in full feeling.
Yeah.
Here's a great example is confidence. A lot of coaches and say a dating coach will tell a guy to be confident, just be confident,
Just
or
be
like,
confident.
right. What does that look like? And so
Yeah.
what they'll do is they'll put their body armor on, like Iron Man.
Yep.
Iron Man's if you look at the original character, he's an alcoholic with a broken heart,
Yes.
and he puts on his suit of armor, and he's got a broken heart, and he's got a device to help keep his heart from killing him.
Yep.
And so he puts on a suit of armor, and then you walk over to the girl at the bar, and you're like, "Hi, I'm Brian. What's your name?" And you're talking from your head. There's no
Yeah.
feeling in your body because you've pushed you've numbed that whole thing out, and
Yeah.
you're now a talking head.
Yeah.
And real true confidence is the ability to walk over and keep that heart open, keep that armor
Mm-hmm.
on, feel
Mm-hmm.
everything, and say hi. And
Yes.
then if it goes right or wrong, owning it and saying, "Yeah, I can handle it. I'm a man. I can handle this.
I can
I can
roll
be
with
with it."
whatever comes up. So,
Yeah.
okay, so then with the topic of fear, what how do you see fear, right? So a man, women, every gender I think often has a kind of fear of um or fear, awkwardness, whatever you want to call it, anxiety around connecting with new people, usually going deeper at different phases the fears come up. How do you how do you relate to that fear? How do you help men see what fear actually is?
Well, uh, fear is interesting because I've had so much of it. I was riddled with it as a child, and it's probably why I got into what I'm into.
Yep.
I had a very abusive childhood in a sense, and I think everybody's had their problems. I don't look at mine as unique, but I had a bipolar mother, alcoholic, sociopathic stepfather,
Mm.
career criminal. We had the FBI following us, things like this.
Wow.
And so it was a pretty crazy life. So I grew up just terrified of everything
Yeah.
because I didn't, and I hid inside. And what really hit me was that what I was avoiding, what all nice guys, because I was the consummate nice guy, I was the
Mm-hmm.
opposite of my
Mm-hmm.
stepfather, and what all nice guys and what guys are avoiding because they're scared deep down inside is tension in life.
Yeah.
If I can get rid of all the tension, and then stress is a synonym for tension. Too much, if I can get the responsibility done as fast as humanly possible, excuse me, if I can make her happy and like I take her on a date and I'm gonna, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? You just tell me what makes you happy. If I can get rid of all that tension, then everything will be good and I'll
Mm-hmm.
be happy and you'll be
Mm-hmm.
happy.
Yeah.
But in reality, that's no fun.
No.
That's boring. And if there's no tension, if I don't make a decision and I don't go out and risk the responsibility of something going wrong or right and step
Yeah.
into the tension of that, then you don't grow.
No.
Nothing grows without tension. And so we need to be constantly applying tension and cycling it with rest and healing. Tension,
Mm.
cycling it. That's how we grow muscles, right?
Yeah.
You have to
Tension,
apply
rest, and
tension.
healing. It's
And if
also
you want
really
to act with,
flat and boring. And, when you think about romance and connection, uh, people enjoy in a way being in a relationship because they don't have to be facing that tension, but people tend to get bored and feel like, ugh, we've turned into roommates, or, this isn't as exciting as it was. So it's like, I often find men coming in trying to get over that tension or over that awkwardness. And yet, like you said, I think if we can um, have a relationship with it and be able to navigate it or get in relationship with it, then you can have the excitement and not be so thrown by it.
oh, the awkwardness is where all the fun happens.
Mm-hmm,
That's where
mm-hmm.
you grow. That's where you get, you should be chasing new experiences and chasing uncomfortable. You don't have to do massive amounts of tension. A little bit of tension here and there is
Yeah,
part of what makes us all laugh.
yeah,
If you can't get messy in a bunch of tension and then screw it all up and laugh at yourself, then you're not having any fun.
yeah.
And so this is what, I'm going to go out today and what I'm going to learn to surf, or I'm going to go hike a mountain, or I'm going to go, or maybe it's get on stage and give a speech I've never spoke before, and then later I screwed it all up and we can all laugh about it. Or I'm gonna say, let's go to this new restaurant we've never been to before and try it out and just see what happens. and
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that you own it, oh man, this food was terrible, and we got a story about that, the crazy experience we had.
Right.
This is
Versus, oh my God, this food is terrible. I chose the wrong place. She's never going to want me. She's not going to want to sleep with me. We're fucked. Right. Like going down that rabbit hole.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what guys do is they're trying so hard to be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
And I don't think women want perfect. They
No.
they want real.
Yeah.
They want a
Yeah.
guy that can handle tension and laugh at it.
I
And
agree. Right. I agree that women want real. And there's also such a cultural norm of men are supposed to be strong and men are supposed to be the rock and, all of that. So I'm curious. I mean, I have my own way of speaking with that about men, but I'm curious how you support men through that.
well, part of being there's a truth to this idea that men are supposed to be the rock, because throughout society, throughout history, if you go back even a few hundred years, men had to go out and fight, hunt. I
Fun.
was trying to say hunt and fight together. Flunked. So they had to go out and fight, hunt, protect, provide. So let's say you got a jungle, and the men would go clear the space in the jungle and create a safe space. They would protect that space. They go out in the wild and bring back food. They go out into
Hmm.
the wild and make sure the surrounding territory was safe. And then women would fill it with love, and that safe space with love, children, nurturing, healing, and they would that's their space. When the men would protect that space so the women could fill it up.
Yeah.
And so that's why we see men as the rock, so that they can go do that job. Now, where men make the mistake is they think that means they can't have any emotions or feelings.
Right.
And being the rock, in my opinion, means you feel everything, but you practice as a man realizing that I'm not going to be a victim to any of it. I'm going to feel
Yeah.
it all,
Yeah.
and I'm going to own it all. I'm a man. I can handle it. And
Mm-hmm.
what you'll find is, yes, I can even say, you know what, I need a hug right now, or I need love from you right now. But if I'm sitting there
Yes.
whining and crying and, oh, poor me, I need a hug, that's where men become really unattractive,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
And
the difference between kind of collapsing into it and thinking this is all of me and I need someone to save me
yeah,
versus, wow, I'm an amazing human being and I feel pain and I want to hug and right, like all these things are part of it.
exactly. And no, I mean, on either side, nobody likes victims.
Yeah.
Nobody really likes victims. It's not sexy because you can't grow from victim consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's where men are making the mistake. They're assuming victim consciousness or being a victim is what turns women off. I mean, really, it's repellent for women, I think. So, and I
Yeah.
think for me too, when I see a woman that keeps playing the victim
Mm-hmm.
and wants me to help ground that out all the time, and she's not growing herself, she's not learning from it, I lose all attraction too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
and I can see the swinging in the pendulum, right? From okay, the victim to I'm the rock without any emotions. I've just got to man up, do it on my own, and the kind of that swinging back and forth. Whereas between the two is that balanced. I have emotions and I'm strong and I'm able to take care of someone else and I'm able to show that I have needs, right? That middle ground.
Very much so. We talked about this before the call just for a moment, but I believe there's kind of multiple parts to yourself. And Lester Levinson, who I talked about a little bit as
Mm-hmm.
a mentor, he would talk about the emotional scale: apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, courage,
Mm.
acceptance. And then Hawkins added in love, David Hawkins, and then peace. So it goes heaviest to lightest. I believe that the highest part of yourself, the most conscious, energetic, free part of yourself, which is always accessible, that's what deep meditation takes you to,
Yeah.
is up there in peace, is at the top of that scale.
Yeah.
The body can be walking around as you learn to re-identify with the energetic body, or that
Yes.
part of yourself that's really more conscious. Even if you're down in grief in the physical body,
Mm-hmm.
you can be looking at that grief from the physical body. You can even be looking at the part of you playing the victim
Yep.
from this higher perspective, and see the
Yep.
physical body wants to play the victim, but not be identified with the victim, be identified with that higher self. That takes practice and learning. You're not going to probably do that instantly.
Yeah.
But if most people are whatever they feel, they identify with. So when they feel
Yes.
sad, they identify with it. When they're angry, they identify with it.
Yep.
What if you were up in courage, acceptance, love, and peace, and you got angry or you got sad and you owned it from that space?
Yes.
And you're
You're
like, yeah, I
speaking
can
my
feel,
language.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
So the
so
body,
powerful.
it's not about identifying with the body. It's about letting everything flow through the body and not taking it personal, saying, yeah, this is what the body's going through. But this is what my higher conscious self is experiencing. And that
Yeah.
separation is the hardest part for people to get.
Yeah.
But once you get it, you'll never want to go back. You know?
Yes, I mean that's actually my strongest practice, or one of my practices these days, is that disidentification, that sense of, okay, I'm feeling this emotion, I'm having this experience, and um, when I step back into that other realm of consciousness, right, that still, silent, quiet, peaceful, whatever we call it, place, and witness, oh, look at that, look at that fear that's arising, look at that sadness that's arising, look at that confusion that's arising. It's such a different place to be. It's such a more stable place to stand in.
Yeah, yeah. And then a lot of people, when they look at an emotion, they get pulled down into it, right? They get
Yes.
locked in it. So
Yes.
that practice you're talking about takes a little bit of time, but when you start learning to look at something and not get pulled down into it anymore, and then welcome it, it's like that hand you talked about at the beginning of the call. It's squeezing tight. Maybe it's squeezing tight, like if you had an object in your hand, a rock or something like that, and you were
Mm-hmm.
squeezing tight on it to the point of total numbness. And when you start to relax and you start to look at it from that point of consciousness and start to welcome the feeling, and the hand relaxes a little bit because you're looking at it, that numbness will turn into, oh, there's some pain in there.
Mm-hmm.
because I've been squeezing a rock for how long? The
Right.
numbness is now going away. My hand is relaxing. Oh, there's some discomfort. There's some ache. And it starts to loosen more and more and more. And as you keep loosening, eventually that rock drops, which represents the dropping of something, an old
Yes.
story, an attachment. And then the hand can start to relax and move and get blood flow back into it. And there's all this feeling returns to that part of the body.
Yeah.
And each part of the body does something different for the vehicle to be able to navigate the world,
Yes.
be able to
Yes.
function in the world. So if your hips are turned off, that has a huge effect on your creative energy and your
Mm-hmm.
passion. Your legs, and especially the back of your legs, that's your grounding,
Uh-huh.
and then your connection to Mother Earth and letting Earth support you and believing the Earth will take care of you. If you're not connected to your heart, it's really hard to transmute stuck emotions, and it's really hard to be loving and have joy and appreciation and
Mm-hmm.
gratitude and
Mm-hmm.
feel everything. If you're not connected to your gut, that's where flow state comes from, and your gut instincts and your self-esteem and your personal power. And each part of the body does something different. The third eye would be the frontal lobe, and what the frontal lobe does for focus and the ability to get something done in a given day and to be able
Mm.
to move forward in the midst of whatever you're feeling.
Yes.
And so I look at the body like this powerful machine and vehicle that it's like an engine in a car. Like, you tune each part up and you keep it operational, man, you're unstoppable.
Mm. Beautifully
And
said.
so.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how do you take that and say a man is having a fear of, if he's single, going on a date or approaching a woman, or if he's in relationship, having a conversation with his wife, whether it's about some kind of intimacy or the relationship or sex, how do you support men to navigate with all of this, with the fear?
Well, first off, they gotta acknowledge the fear, and they've got to learn. And so there's a lot of practices we do, something we call, as a teaching and training program I have, called the revealing process, which helps them to learn to welcome all those emotions:
Yeah.
apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, and all the subtle emotions that go with them. Because let's say we take anger, for example. Anger can
Yeah.
have rage, hate, frustration, can have all these levels of anger within one emotion. Grief can have sadness, loneliness, shame. Fear can have doubt, worry. So learning to develop emotional intelligence and learning to
Yes.
welcome all those emotions in each part of the body is a process we teach. So, you might feel your heart and be, oh, I feel love and peace, but then I go down to my hips and it's pure numbness and I'm in
Right.
apathy. And
Yep.
so your whole body is going to have different levels of consciousness, in a
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
And so we teach them how to welcome all those points of consciousness through the different parts of the body, and then start to recognize where they're at on this emotional scale, and then start to, without making it dogmatic, it's
Mm-hmm.
just an idea. Just let it, don't make anything dogmatic. And then start to learn to look at that, welcome it, look at it from every angle, so you can start to release that rock, in a sense, that's stuck there, and start to eventually loosen. And as each part loosens, you notice that you start to feel better in that part. More healing returns, more love returns, and as the whole body as a whole starts to become more conscious, your whole life changes radically. So the
Yes.
first part is really developing a emotional intelligence in at least one part of the body, and then start
Mm-hmm.
moving that emotional intelligence to other parts of the body too. And
Part of what I love about what you're saying is that in starting with this, then that question that men often come to me with, like, what's the right thing to say? When's the right time to say it? Right? All of that becomes kind of a moot point. I mean, there are things that we can say that create more closeness rather than distance. But from this foundation, your whole being is communicating for you and creating more connection.
yes, and that's the whole idea, is you can live you're think of it this way, and this is for men and women. You're everybody. This, everything I'm talking about, really applies to both. But
Yeah.
your whole body is a musical instrument, and I
Mm-hmm.
see it, and it's creating your song every day. So I
Mm.
can speak from my heart. I can speak from my turn on. I can speak from both at the same time and balance the
Yes.
two. I can speak from my gut and my power. I can speak from my grounding. I can hold your hand from my grounding or my heart, or both. I can move through the body. As you start to develop more conscious in the body, you can move through the body at will, which changes a person's experience of you in that moment.
Yep.
from the way you look at them. Eye contact is huge. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you connect with somebody through your eyes? Or are you constantly breaking connection with your eyes?
Mm-hmm.
From
Right. Are
the
you
way
feeling awkward and like,
yeah.
self-conscious through your eyes? Or are you actually exploring and merging in that way?
Yeah, and it's all felt all the time, whether it's a
Yep.
touch, whether it's an eye contact, whether it's your voice. Your
Mm-hmm.
voice transmits so much emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for women, voice is huge.
Yeah.
A person's voice tells them so
It
much.
tells so much, right? I mean, I can feel as you're speaking, I can feel the depth of you. I can feel your relaxedness. I can feel the way you are. There's a settling that happens in my body. There's a fullness that happens in my body, right? It's like, and when a man is speaking and he's more in his head, or he's got that tension in his throat or in his belly, or his hips are numb, right? A lot of women can't put words to that, but they feel it, right? As I've been training over the years, I can actually pinpoint, oh, this is what's causing um this tension over there. I can feel, and this is the impact on my body. Not to say it's causing my body. I have free will, but it's a really incredible experience when you use actually I don't want to say use, but when your voice, right, creates relaxation or creates spark or turn on or whatever in someone else's body.
Yes, 100%. And I'd say the same thing about you. Your voice is so relaxing. So you have a healing quality and a nurturing quality to your voice that's very
Mm,
powerful.
thank you.
And I remember, and so this goes back to the first time you and I met at that restaurant in West Los Angeles. There was that sense of that energetic jump between us
Yeah.
from my wrist. It was literally I was moving my wrist and showing you how embodiment in the wrist works, and then it popped to your wrist. It was like an arc. I felt the arc, you felt the
Yeah.
arc
Yeah.
immediately, and there was this instant like charge between us, and that from that energy. That's embodiment just happening in the moment,
Yes.
and that doesn't happen with too many people. That I've done a lot of embodiment work, and I think that's why it happened. I think you have too. So there was this,
Yes.
to that degree, it doesn't happen, but it does happen at a much subtler degree to everybody. I mean, here, I want to present an idea to
Yeah.
everybody. If you've got a little, just say you've got a tiny bit of anxiety in your body, and you think, and that's not a big deal if you can identify with the higher part of yourself. That's
Mm-hmm.
no big deal. People will respect it. But let's say you're really identified with the anxiety, you're down in it, you're kind of lost in it. Then you go talk to somebody and you think, oh, they don't notice. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of that
Mm-hmm.
anxiety arcing to that other person at a subtle, subtle, subtle level will build up,
Yeah.
and they feel it.
Yeah, they do.
And
I mean, it's one of the things I talk about with men too, this idea of you can walk in the room and as soon as people are aware of you, they have a sense, right? Whether it's conscious or unconscious, they will start to respond. And right, if it's not like you're saying, it's if you're feeling anxiety, it's really different if you're um like living as though you are that anxiety versus, oh, I am all of these things. I am the peace, I am the space, I am the depth, and there's some anxiety moving through me, and I'm actually, in relationship with that. I'm
yeah,
aware of it, but I'm not becoming it.
and that can be super actually attractive to people, I think, because
Yeah.
if I have fear and I'm like, yeah, I'm nervous right
I've
now, and
got, yeah.
I'm owning it, that can be a kind of a turn on.
Totally. There's a strength and a vulnerability, which shows me, oh, you actually have a heart and you're willing to share it with me, right? You're not hiding,
Yeah,
holding back. I get to actually know you for real. And you have a strength that you are able and willing, right, to go to all of these places to risk in a way that a lot of people won't.
yeah, that's so true, and I love seeing that on women too. I see so many women, same as guys, and
Yeah.
it's just slightly different. I'll see a woman that's, she's just got something bound up in her body, and I'm still, and by the way, I'm still untying tons of stuff from my
Oh yeah.
body all the time. So it's not
Yeah.
like I just keep working at it. So I'll meet a woman who doesn't like, oh, I want to work on that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. And she's always resisting, and she's doing one thing after another to distract from feeling her body. And
Hmm.
it's not sexy, and it's actually kind of a turnoff. Now, if she's only going into it, let's say she's going into her body and exploring a depth of feeling 1/100th% a day. That's awesome. Now I'm super attracted. Like the fact that she's exploring it and just learning and growing every day a little bit, super sexy. Super sexy. And but the complete aversion, which is what most people are doing, is like, I'm just going to go home and smoke pot so I can't feel. I'm just going to go home and drink a blunt, or I'm going to go watch 10 hours of TV, a Netflix show, so I don't feel anything. I'm going to go masturbate a bunch to distract so the energy doesn't build up in my body, so I don't become a live wire, which is what you want. You want to become a live wire, because I don't want
a live wire that has consciousness or an ability to move the energy where you want it to go.
Yeah. I want to become more sensitive, but then as I become more sensitive, I want to learn to ground that sensitivity.
Yes.
That's the other mistake you probably see a lot, as I see, and I learned this early on from a yogi. He said a lot of people, especially in the modern metaphysical movements and yoga, modern yoga, they want to go out, open their hearts, but they don't learn to ground. They avoid the lower chakras, they avoid the lower centers that turn on the third and the grounding, and then they become super hypersensitive and reactive to everything because they're so sensitive and they don't know what to do with all that energy. So you can't do one without the other. It's a big mistake.
Agreed. Well, I feel extremely grateful for you being out there as a living example, and one who is continuing to grow and study and work with your own fear and the knots in your body and all of that. And for now, because I think we could do this many more times, I'm curious, what's something you would suggest that men do who are listening to this, who are either recognizing, wow, there's more fear than I realized here, or who came in knowing, okay, I have a lot of fear and I'm not quite working with it in a way that's working for me.
I would recommend they start learning what grounding really is. Even if they did a simple, got online and did some simple grounding meditations. And I know on my YouTube channel, I've got some grounding examples of what it is to actually learn to feel all the little parts of your body that cause grounding and unwind the tension out of them, so it starts to happen naturally. I'm not a big fan of this, like imagine your roots going into the ground. It's not a bad idea. Actually, it works for a lot of people. But I like to, it's almost like I like to teach you how to feel the parts of your body that would be the roots, and teach those parts to open so that naturally starts happening. And so learning different grounding principles, which means feeling the backs of your legs and all the little parts, learning to feel your perineum and relax it, learning to feel the base of your spine and the back of your sacrum, waking up these parts of the body can have a huge effect on your anxiety, because now the anxiety, like if we go back to the car analogy for guys, if you don't have a grounding wire for the car battery, the car's not going to start, or if it's loose, it's going to start intermittently and it's going to short because the energy is not being grounded properly. So grounding for anxiety is one of the biggest things, I think personally. And if you want, I can try to get you a link to that little video I did on grounding, and that could be huge. I'll text my team.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, that would be great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And besides that link, do you want to just say where men can find more of you?
Yeah. thefearlessman.com is our website, or if they want to go to the YouTube channel, which there's more videos than they can probably watch in any near future, is more going up all the time, is youtube.com/thefearlessman. And there's also an Instagram, which that's going to start having more posted soon. So just check out those channels. There's lots of information and stuff going up all the time, and we're big on just constantly providing more value to people, and then they'll you figure it out. If you want the answers, there's the life, consciousness, the universe, whatever you want to say. If you keep focusing on it, we'll start providing the answers. And something will show up, something will turn up, the right video, the right person, the right timing. There's a reason you're on this podcast right now, and There's a reason you're listening to Shayna, and this is all, it's all part of your
All
creation.
connected.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Beautiful. And thank you for, like I said before, doing your own work. And I know you have some of the roots in the pickup world, and I feel really grateful that you've grounded, right? And grounded the content around how to take risks and how to be more bold with how to actually deepen consciousness and have it not be, just for a woman, or I'm doing these things to impress someone, but actually to grow yourself and have a really meaningful, powerful life.
Yeah, this is the weird part, is if you understand the law of polarity and the seven natural laws, uh, pickup is founded in this idea that I've got to, go do something to get a girl. And in
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
reality, you've got to be something that naturally draws whatever you want in, whether it's a woman, money. So it's really about a giving process. You
Yeah.
offer up an energy and you give, and you can want a return, but you can choose a return. That's a better way to put it. But you got to be completely unattached to how and when it comes in, and where it comes in, or what person it comes from. And the more you surrender and just enjoy your body, your life, the moment, and you actually start to learn to just enjoy yourself and give that enjoyment away, the more everything you want starts coming to you.
I love it.
And
Thank you
yeah,
so much.
yeah, you're welcome.
I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Man Alive. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and it gave you something to consider and explore in your life. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe and write a quick review that helps men like you find us. And again, head over to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz or text the word ALIVE, ALIVE, to 44144 to get a sense of how you can become a better lover and leader. You'll start to see how you can be both more respected and desired in your unique and genuine way. If you don't feel as confident or as excited about life or love as you'd like to be, this quiz is a really great starting point and will guide you toward a more passionate love life and a more inspiring and successful career. So again, text ALIVE, ALIVE, to 44144 or head over to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz. Join us each week for a new episode of Man Alive.